Welcome eFam, Pastor Matt here. So glad that you've joined us on this YouTube channel. We pray these next moments bless you, inspire you, and allow you to connect to God in a meaningful way. God bless you.
It's Maundy Thursday. It's the last night of Jesus' life. It's the night in which he knows that it will not be long before he is betrayed. He'll be arrested. And a day of horror begins on Good Friday. But on this night, he gathers with his disciples. They prepared an upper room, and he gathers with them. He tells them, I've desired to do this with you. I've desired to share this last Passover with you. Now, he doesn't tell them it's the last one. That's what we call it, looking backwards. But he said, I've chosen to have this time with you tonight. We call it Maundy Thursday. Maundy's not a word we use in any other context, to my knowledge. Maundy means command. And it's a night that Jesus gave a command in his actions, and he gave it in his words as well. He gathers them together, and as they're together being guys, they began to have the talk about who's the greatest, who's the best, who's the strongest, whatever, who's the favorite. And Jesus begins to do something. He gets down on his knees. He pulls out a bucket, and he gets a towel, and he begins to wash their feet. Some of them resist. Peter absolutely says, Lord, no. And Jesus says, no, this is important. You have to receive. And they all submit to that foot washing. And Jesus, as he's doing it, he says, do you know what I'm doing? Do you understand what I'm doing? They did not. So later he told them when he finished, he said, what I did for you is to show you that the servant is not above the teacher. The servant is not above the master, but I've shown you how to serve. And the greatest among you will be the one who serves the most. When you wash each other's feet, you're showing the ways of the kingdom. He didn't use those exact words, but that's what he did. And that's what he said. And then as he gathered them, he shares this intimate account. The other gospel writers do not share what John shares. But see, John is the one who gives us the insight into knowing who Nicodemus is. We know the woman at the well, that conversation. We know of Mary and Martha. We know of the raising of Lazarus and the communications he had with them in the conversations. We especially know how he restores Peter after his resurrection, when Peter had denied him 3 times and was just awash with guilt. And Jesus restores him at a breakfast by the beach. All those things happen in John. This night, this conversation, where Jesus tells them about foot washing, is a very particular part of John. Because then he says this, that Jesus took the bread and he took the cup. These are the bread and cup of the Passover meal. And he says, there's a new symbol here. Now, he doesn't use those words, but he said, this bread is my body, which is for you. They had no idea what that meant. We can look back and we can see that, but they didn't know. I'm sure they were scratching their head. And then he said this very strong thing. This cup is the new covenant that I'm making with you through my blood. I'm sure they said, what is he talking about? It was only when they had gone through the experience and they looked back that these words really had meaning. Before that, they had mystery. And it's like that for you and me. When we read these stories, sometimes we go like, what is God saying? But we walk in faith, we trust him, and we do what Jesus said do. Because he told them, when you do these things, you're blessed. You're happy when you do them. And we learn and we look back and go, this is significant. After Jesus had shared the meal with them, he said to them, I'm giving you a new commandment. New, not in the sense of one more to add to all the laws of the Old Testament. Not one to add to the big 10 of the 10 commandments. No, he says, I'm giving you a new commandment. This is the commandment of the kingdom. Here it is. Love one another as I have loved you. Love one another. Meet the needs of each other. Wash the feet when they need to be washed. Meet the needs by giving what they need at that time. That's what love does. Love finds someone where they are and shows the mercy of God, the grace of God, and the love of God to meet whatever need it is they have. Physical, spiritual, emotional. Jesus came to be with us and to leave his presence and his Spirit with us. You see, when we love one another as he loves us, we see life with a relational healthiness. We realize that all people matter. We realize that it's not a matter of who's greatest or who's least. It's a matter of who's there. You see, Jesus invited all of them there, even Judas. So all the disciples come. There's Philip, there's Bartholomew, there's Thomas, there's Simon the Zealot, there's Simon Peter, there's James, there's John, there's Judas, the son of John, there's Judas Iscariot, Bartholomew. They all come. And Jesus washes their feet. And he says, I want you all to love one another like I love you. See life with a relational health. See life with a redemptive focus. Realize that everybody matters. See people like God sees them. God doesn't see Jew nor Greek. He doesn't see slave nor free. He doesn't see male nor female. You see, in God's eyes, there is no status that is more important. There is no nationality or ethnicity that is more important. There is no sexual equality or something that is higher that is more important. No. We all matter. We all matter to God. That's what he says on Maundy Thursday. Love one another. Not love the ones like you. No. Love as I have loved you. You see, Jesus loved us when he was a stranger to us. But we were not a stranger to him. We see life through love, redemptively. We see it relationally. And we see it restoratively. We see what people can be. Jesus saw what Peter could be. And even in the midst of this very night, he says, Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter says, I never will. I will die for you. And Jesus says, no, before the rooster crows, you will deny me. He did not say that to cut Peter. He was letting Peter know, nothing that you do will separate you from the fact that I love you. Even Judas Iscariot, Jesus told him, go do what you must do. He knew where he was headed. He knew what he was doing. But Jesus let him go. And he loved him to the end. You see, Jesus on Maundy Thursday tells you and me, serve one another, love one another. As you serve, you love. You see this bucket and this towel behind me? That's something Jesus used to show servanthood. But do you know there's another basin, there's another towel that's going to come into play in about 12 hours from this very time Jesus speaks those words? And it's found in the house of a mighty man. It's found in the house of a general, a leader who is over the country. His name is Pilate. And in about 12 hours, after Jesus has been arrested by the Sanhedrin and brought before Pilate, Pilate finds no fault in Jesus. And he says, well, you ought to release him. But the people said, no, crucify him. And Pilate, instead of doing what he knew to be right, he did not serve. He didn't sacrifice. He caved. And then he did this to put a salve on his heart. He washed his hands in that basin. And he toweled them off. And he said, I'm innocent of his blood. You and I know that it's not enough to be able to say, Jesus, we love you. We need to show that we love him. Maundy Thursday is a day to remember servanthood, sacrifice. We give our hearts and our lives to him. because he told us, love one another as I have loved you. I find it odd that Jesus chose to wash feet. I wrote a poem, like a meditation, that I want to share with you. I wrote this years ago, but it speaks to me each year. It's called Feet. Just plain, ordinary, tired feet. Jesus cared about feet. He didn't ignore the head, the heart, or the soul, those spectacular things we focus on. But I'm especially glad that he cared about feet. How many messiahs ever did that? You can wax eloquently and beautifully abstract about people's heads and hearts, souls. But it's hard to be removed from human need when you're kneeling on the floor, washing another's feet. Today, dusty roads are scarce, and we don't wear sandals that often. But feet wrapped in leather and socks still get tired, and they still get ignored, and there aren't many messiahs who come around and care for feet. Jesus cares for you and me. He loves us, head to toe. He loves us. It's Maundy Thursday. I want to pray with you before we go. Eternal Father and loving God, teach us how to serve by washing another's feet. Help us to kneel in our hearts, that our lives may bow in service to your will, not our own. May our lives be cleansed with your forgiveness, that we may go forth and live in freedom and hope. Lord, cleanse our relationships with one another. May we, in washing one another's feet and serving their need, forgive and accept forgiveness with each other for any hurts, wrongs, or misdoings, misunderstandings that have passed between us, so that we may rise together and sit at your table and be renewed and strengthened in your love. Thank you for Maundy Thursday, Jesus, and thank you for showing us how to serve and how to sacrifice. God bless you.